Welcome, Secretary Poneman. Tritium is important to NNSA in the production of nuclear weapons. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir.
You know where the source of tritium for our nuclear weapons?
Customarily, we have been irradiating bars in reactors such as Watts bar and producing the tritium out of that activity.
Yeah, but I believe you only get the tritium from the Watts bar reactor in the TVA system. What would happen if the government sold the Tennessee Valley Authority? Where would you get your tritium?
Senator, I think the first thing to say is, as I think you know, there's been certainly no decision to do that. There's been a discussion that has been opened on that subject, and I can assure you that the United States remains committed to preserve a safe, secure, and effective deterrent. Tritium is an essential component to that deterrent, and whatever discussion happens about TVA would be informed by our need to assure our tritium supplies rolling forward.
Well, is it your idea to sell TVA?
No, sir. As I think you know, TVA does not fall under the jurisdiction of the Department of Energy.
Well, but you're the Energy Department, and it's the largest public utility.
We are very aware of it, and as you know, we are indispensably tied to it at the moment in terms of our source for tritium. I am confident that as we move forward in any discussions about TVA, that the Department of Energy would be part of that conversation.
Well, you're also tied to it because it has, it'll be the owner of the small nuclear reactor that is built as a part of the program that the department has started. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And as you know, that small modular reactor program is a very important part of our nuclear future.
Were you consulted about the language in the budget that suggested that the government might sell TVA?
Senator, as I said, TVA does not fall under the
So you weren't?
The jurisdiction, and I had my hands full with the DOE.
Yeah, but the answer
budget.
is no, I guess.
Well, I was not personally involved in those conversations.
Yeah. Do you know
sir.
whether Dr. Chu or anyone else at the Department of Energy, anyone asked them, what about, what are we going to do for tritium? What are we going to do with a small nuclear reactor if we were to sell TVA?
Senator, the one thing that I do know is that any decision rolling forward that would consider what to do with the TVA would, of course, involve consultation with the
So you get the consultation after the fact. Did you know that as a result of just the random mention of it in the budget that the Tennessee Valley Authority bonds lost a market value of $500 million?
No, sir, I'm not.
According to the TVA management, that was the effect. And did you know that the effect of that is to raise electric bills for customers all throughout the Tennessee Valley over time, and that depending on the timing and resolution of this discussion, that the loss could grow to considerably more?
Well, I can tell you, Senator, that our commitment is to minimize the rates paid by American taxpayers and American ratepayers.
Well, don't you think it would have been wiser if somebody wanted to sell TVA that they might sit down and have a private discussion about it first rather than cause the value of the bonds to plunge? I mean, you know that the bonds aren't even backed by the federal government, and they're held by private investors, and that the federal taxpayer makes no contribution to TVA today, and that there are many who doubt that if you were to sell TVA that there'd even be much to be gained from the tax because of its $25 billion debt. And plus, I don't hear a big clamor down in Tennessee for selling TVA.
Senator, I know that there was a larger conversation that talked about ways in which the U.S. government could become a more efficient steward of the taxpayer resources. I think that's a conversation that involved a number of entities, and I think TVA was mentioned in that context. What I can assure you rolling forward, which I think should be, kept in mind, is that no decision has been made.
Yeah.
It was only an opening of a conversation,
Yeah.
and in the conversation to come, all of the factors that you have discussed, such as the SMRs and the tritium production, I'm sure we will.
Well, what I would, it seems to me the President probably has his hands full these days with other matters, and the Department of Energy isn't consulted, and you've got a pretty big agenda as well. I think there's somebody with the green eyeshade down there in the Office of Management and Budget who just thinks it's a cool idea to talk about selling the Tennessee Valley Authority, and we don't appreciate that approach. I mean, it's an ill-conceived, reckless approach. Just the random, casual conversation about it has driven down the value of the bonds, made them harder to sell perhaps, raised the electric bills that we might have throughout the Tennessee Valley, and so far as I can tell, has no good purpose. So my suggestion would be that if there are any, my first suggestion is you drop the idea. If you want to reduce the debt, we work on controlling cost overruns on Department of Energy projects or reining in entitlement spending. Or if you want to continue to discuss it, that you have private discussions about it that don't affect the bond market and have the unintended consequences of raising the electric bills for customers of the largest public utility in the world. Thank you, Madam Chair.